Hello. We are back with Giggles, this module. This is one of my favorite modules. I just want to quickly stop and congratulate you for getting this far. We're in module 5 now, and the information that you've learnt, if you've gone through the process, you know more than 90% of the parents already. And that is amazing because you can help your children progress and build confidence so much more easier and have so much more fun whilst doing that. There is a saying that the most successful and the richest people in the world is only 10% of the world. Maybe there's a reason why. Maybe their parents played with them and played through their emotions and made them confident, and they had that self-confidence. Something to think about. But well done. You guys are here. Now, this is one of my favorite ones, Giggles, because you want to be able to giggle with your children. Follow the laughter, as I always say. Okay, let's get into it. Laughing is essential to playing. Invite the giggles at every opportunity. Exaggerate it. Ham it up. Use funny voices. Sing or pretend to fall over. If you feel embarrassed by doing this, by acting like a clown, maybe there's relatives over, then grab a stuffed toy or action figure and act silly on their behalf. This is one of the things that I always do. Me being a director of a couple of businesses, and one of them being the nursery, and also a property business and a martial art club, I always need to be seen as a power figure. However, when it comes to children, that's when I'm a clown. I am Mr. Tumbles, if you say, or any other clown apart from the horror ones. That I have to be. I have to be on the floor, rolling around. I actually do exercises for my body to be able to adapt to the floor. Stretches, being able to move faster on the floor, on my knees. When I'm in the gym, I actually do those exercises in the focus that I will be playing with my children. So we do need to do that. However, if we are feeling uncomfortable by this, then you could just do the same thing with a toy. Grab a toy and do a pretend voice, make the toy fall over and tumble around and make the toy feel silly. Because to children, they will see the same emotions that they will feel when they see you. They will have that same emotion with the toy. So we tend to get serious when children are being obnoxious, aggressive, or uncooperative. But these are the times when playing is the most useful. Laughter is a signal of connection and closeness between people. It's also a signal of someone successfully completing a challenging task. It could be a sign that a child no longer feels miserable or hurt. It could also be a way people release fears, embarrassments, and anxiety. Laughter is also a good way to lighten up a conflict or a tense moment. We tend to do these naturally as adults. When we see children do it, we start maybe lecturing them, saying, you should not be doing that, or this is not how it should be done. But we should just realize that if there's an embarrassing moment, if there's a conflict or a tense moment and the child is laughing, then that's a really key and important thing to be able to build a connection with them. This actually happened to my son, and he was in nursery. We had put him in a nursery, not our nursery. This is before we decided to go into the nursery field. And my child was playing a bit obnoxious. He was missing me and my wife. And he was just settling in. It was the first 2 weeks, and he would throw things, and then the practitioners couldn't actually see that he was feeling the distance. They couldn't see that he was crying for help. So they decided to call me in and tell me that they're going to be putting him on a red book, which basically meant that anything bad he does, they'll put it onto this, they'll write it down on this red book. Now my son was there looking down at the floor. The room leader decided to look down at the 3-year-old, my son, and said, "You're not meant to be throwing balls around. Now look at me." And he was like kind of laughing a bit when he was looking down. And she said, "You should stop laughing." And she put his hand on his chin and pushed his chin up. And he was giggling when he was looking down, but he had tears in his eyes when he looked up, and the tears rolled down his cheek. And that's when I knew that this nursery knew nothing about taking care of children. And I spoke to my wife about it, who was a teacher at that time. And she decided with me that we need to make a better place for children. And children should be able to feel their emotions and release their emotions in a playful way, along with their emotions being acknowledged. So we did open up our own nursery. My wife gave up her job and focused on the nursery field, along with the little ones' life skills, to get parents more aware. And that is our sole purpose, our sole goal, for awareness on how to play to understand the world that children live in. So children will laugh. There will be situations where children feel embarrassed but laugh. And if we tell them off at that time, when we force them to look up at us, we'll actually see tears in their eyes. So laughter, we can help them through the laughter by play. Use trial and error to find out what works to make your children laugh. Older children are more challenging, and even young ones may have a refined taste. Ask them to make you laugh, or read books and watch TV together to get an idea of what they find funny. So once you ask them to try to make you laugh, you'll know that makes them laugh. If they're watching a program and something makes them laugh, make a mental note of it, because that is their sense of humor. And it's really key when it comes to watching TV. There is so much material out there that says children shouldn't be in front of screens and shouldn't watch TV. Yes, it's true, because it does disengage them from the world. However, when I was younger, I remember our TV time as being family time, because all of our family used to be together. We used to laugh together at cartoons, and then afterwards we used to talk about, with my mum and dad. I used to talk about the program, and that's where the difference is. When they say TV should not be used as a babysitter, or children should not be in front of the TV, they forget to write the word alone. Because if you're there with them, cuddling them, holding them, laughing with them, and then looking at them, that sense of connection. And now obviously this shouldn't always be used, but it is another tool of play, because watching TV is a way of playing, not a babysitter. Let's continue. It's small little rants that Bakshi has explained to me as well. Where are we? Kids seem to laugh at phases when they're moving between being too young to get something to finding it beneath them. E.g., babies laugh at disappearing objects. Kindergarten or grade 1 students laugh when an adult says he or she wants to marry Barney or Barbie. Try to find the edge with the children, to see what makes them laugh, and work on that. Here's a couple of examples. Play chase with a 2-year-old and stumble and fall just as you're about to catch them. So with your child, if you're running, you can also do this huge display of "I am the best, I will catch you, no one gets away from me," and then start chasing them. And as you're about to get them, you stumble and fall, and they'll giggle and laugh. Another one is, instead of asking a teenager to clean up their room for the 10th time, maybe perform a popular song with a dancing request that they clean up, which works wonders. Maybe you could put your children's clothes on and jewelry, the outfits that drives you crazy, and see how long it takes them to notice. It's a way of building a connection with them. With a child, saying that she wanted When a child is watching TV and they say, oh, I want that, I want this, I want that, start saying, I want two of those things. And I also want that, and get excited. Because all of a sudden the child will say, wow, my parents also want it. There's a connection. They're just like me. That's something that we have to understand as well. Watching adverts is something that's we can actually avoid by pressing the forward button nowadays. However, if the child is watching adverts, we can play with them through that by saying what you see. If they want it, you want it as well. Another way is invite your children to take turns saying, this is a serious, solemn occasion, with a straight face. And other types is a staring competition. If they try saying something with a straight face, trust me, they'll start laughing. They won't be able to say it. A staring competition, like I mentioned, staring into their eyes is very tough for a child, but I allow them to blink. I say staring competition, but blink. You are allowed to blink, but the first one to move their head loses. And this builds so much connection, and there's a huge giggle of laughter once they feel the overwhelm of love that pours into them. You basically fill their cup immediately just by gazing into their eyes. Note the difference between joyful laughter and laughter that teases and rejects. Now, I have mentioned this in the other module. Don't imitate them to annoy them or teach them a lesson. So if they're crying or they're acting obnoxious or they're whining, we shouldn't start saying, oh, you're doing this, I want this. That kind of things, when you see it, you know that's kind of teasing them. And that's just building powerlessness. I see this with grandparents so much. and I cringe at it. However, anyone with grandparents knows that it's very tough to teach new tricks to older dogs. Monitor their reactions to make sure you're not belittling them. It's very important. Now, this is a key thing that we need to understand, especially fathers. Never hold your child down and tickle them against their will. This is a game that it's probably been played with us when we were young. It's one of those few close contact games that men were taught to play as children. When you hold your child down and tickle them, they laugh naturally, but it's false laughter, and they feel powerless. What you want to do, if you do want to do that, is tickle them and back away. And then you'll see if they react and say, oh, more. If they say more, tickle them again and then back away. Tickle them and back away, allowing them small little escapes. If you hold them down, their laughter could turn into them weeing themselves. I've seen that happen before, and they feel angry and powerless. I remember at my time when I was younger and I was playing and I was tickled and tickled and tickled, and after the tickling, the laughter disappeared and I was infuriated. I felt anger just come over me, and this was when I was so young. I still remember that. And this is something that we have to understand. We don't want to make our children feel powerless. So if you do want to do the tickling game, whilst maybe doing rough and tumbling, you do a little tickle, and then back away and see their reaction. If there's no reaction, don't do it again. If they say more, then do it. But never holding them down. Now, if kids say they hate you, call you mean names, or pretend to shoot you, pretend you're wounded and fall down, create a whole movie scene and fall down on top of them. It shows your love to them even when they're feeling monstrous. So when you're doing that, you can still carry on pretending, and they all say, "Oh, Daddy, go away," or "Don't do that," and you fall to the side and pretend to knock out, and the child then laughs and giggles, and you get up and continue with the connection. When children are trying to be gross, like showing half-chewed food in their mouth or saying offensive things, say, "Oh, darling, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. That is such a lovely thing to hear." children get confused. They start looking around thinking, is that true? And a game is on. Another one that you can play with your partner and the child is to express love in a goofy, exaggerated way. One grabs one arm, the other one grabs the other, but don't actually pull. You're just kind of fumbling around and say, he's mine. No, he's mine. He's mine. I love him so much. I love him more than you love him. This silliness catches them off guard and it fills the child with so much. It fills the cup immediately, and it creates an overflow. They feel so loved. All children, even in very loving homes, often have moments of feeling unloved. So this is a great way to just fill their cup immediately. When kids try out words that freak out grown-ups, make up your own silly words, bad words, and act horrified when you hear them say it. So just one example was bobbity boop. You can't say bobbity boop. There's other like poopy head. In other words, though these words we can create easily that has no meaning. But your children will be saying it and having a laugh rather than saying the actual bad words. Help children with fears by acting fearful yourself. If they see that you are fearful, you're afraid, they think it's okay as well. They know it's okay to be afraid. Because we never want to put the lid on emotions that we think are negative. We need the emotions to come out. So, for example, pretend to be afraid of everything like the letter Q or light bulbs or pencils. This helps the children get some distance from their own fear and allows them to release the fear through giggles. Play chase and let the child have one narrow escape after another. And then act shocked that they got away. I mentioned this before. Play at the edge of their development, making it harder and harder, but still allowing them to escape. This builds their strength, their growth, their confidence, but also the giggles, the laughter is amazing. This allows the children to feel powerful, which is important because kids often try to overcome powerlessness, the feeling of powerlessness by making other children feel silly and helpfulness, which could lead to them becoming bullies. When you're frustrated, as an alternative to making real threats, make funny mock threats to lighten up the situation and turn it into play. One example is, if you do that one more time, I'm going to pour water on my head. Although you don't really do it, unless you really want to go to the extreme, you're no longer locked in battle. If you're too mad to do this, then you're too mad to be making the real threats. So one of the things that I used to say, which is very silly, and my wife would probably kill me for letting anyone know this, but I used to, when my son used to do something, I used to say, listen, you got to really stop that. Don't say that word. If you say that word, and I used to have this nappy that was just around the corner. I used to grab the nappy and say, I will eat this nappy. If you do that one more time, I'm going to eat this nappy. And instantly, my son would start laughing and start to pretend to do it again. And I would pretend to start eating like the nappy. He wouldn't really eat the nappy. But then I would say, all right, here we go. And the game is on. And then we would end up playing a game of chase, which, like I mentioned, it breaks that deadlock. If I had gone down the route of saying, if you throw that item one more time, I'm going to get really mad. Now you've just let the child know exactly what you're going to do. And if the child throws the item, which they probably will do, are you ready to get mad, or was it a false threat? Because if it was a false threat, then the child knows that you do false threats. But you don't really want to get mad, because all it does is just creates guilt and creates guilt within you. So create something that's really funny, like the nappy idea or spilling water over your head. Play dumb. Rather than lecturing, ask about what's happening. E.g., if one child is picking on another, comment that the smaller child doesn't seem to be enjoying the game, or say, that looked painful. What's going to happen next? So saying what's going to happen next allows a child to think about the consequences. Your child, the kids are usually surprised and laugh instead of continuing the conflict. Use giggles to make up if you haven't been able to avoid the conflict. Often it's the adult who won't let go and wants endless remorse and apologies. I've done this. I've got very upset when my son slammed the door, and I got really upset. I said, listen, you do not slam the door. And again, I didn't play it through. And I said, do not slam the door. I am very upset. And I walked off. And he came to build a connection, but I wasn't ready because children immediately want connection. And at that immediate point, I was slightly annoyed about the slamming of the door. And I didn't see the connection. And he carried on trying until I remembered that I need to build the connection. And so I went down to this level and we started to have a laugh. So use giggles to make up if you haven't been able to avoid the conflict. Often it's the adult who won't let go and wants endless remorse and apologies. We need to realize that laughter is healing. Children often feel silly, and it helps them to see an adult lose their dignity. If we invite children to laugh at us during playtime, they're less likely to do it at others in a rude way. So this is very important. If someone trips over on the street and the child goes, ha ha ha, look at that, the person fell down. We tend to say, that's not very nice, and go through a lecture point. However, if we have been falling over with the children over and over again, and the children have laughed at us and then felt sorry for us, then when they see someone fall over, they will immediately know that they should be feeling sorry for them, because you've given them the chance at home to be able to go through these emotions already. By laughing together a lot, we can help our children release emotions in a way that isn't hurtful to others. This kind of play is hard for parents, especially after a long day at work, or if you're suffering from depression. Parents need to set aside time for high energy play with the children. So if you are feeling tired when you come back from work, like every parent, take 10 minutes out before getting down on the floor with the children. That 10 minutes is very crucial. Me and my wife, we've got this already pre-planned, saying when I come back from work, I just need to have 10 minutes, and usually just a toilet break, because children can't get to you when you're in the toilet. It's perfect. You just sit there, just unwind, take a breath, come downstairs. Like I mentioned before, a little life hack that I use is a pre-workout. It's great for my workouts, but it's also great for playing with my children. So I come home, have a pre-workout, slight pre-workout formula, which just is basically contains a bit of caffeine, and it boosts you up, and you're on the floor having energetic and enthusiastic play, which is what the children are craving for. It's really important. However, if you are suffering from depression, then seek help, because it's not fair for the children to go through it. If they're not able to giggle with the children, then you need to figure out how to. But all these methods, there's lots of methods here. Like I said, you know more than 90% of the parents now, and all these little techniques, you can adapt them, you can change them as much as you want, because these are just the guidelines, the benchmark of what you want to start to do. And then as you start to do it, you see what the children are reacting to, and then just continue with it and follow their lead. But sometimes you don't know what to do, then just come back to these slides or re-listen to this and get some ideas. Parents can get caught off guard by emotions shifting during play, and this happens to every parent. You're having a giggling time, you're having a great time. After the giggly game, a child might release a torrent of tears over a minor injury, or have a tantrum for no apparent reason. The shift happens. This has happened to you, right? Because if you've been playing with your children, it happens to me all the time. The shift happens because the play often triggers a release or a backed up feelings. If you're prepared for this, and now you are, because awareness is the key. It's easier to relax and sit with them while they work through the emotions. Allow the sadness to happen and don't try to push them into laughter right away again, or try to ignore it by saying, oh, nothing happened, you're strong, just forget about it. Oh, don't be a crybaby. You've just played with your child and got them to a point of releasing an emotion. And this is the perfect time to build connection and be with your loved ones and your child. So this is what play is all about. You might play for an hour and then you get up and all of a sudden the child starts crying. It's a time to actually get back in, because you got them to the point of releasing the emotion, the internal emotion that's been hidden. It shouldn't be taken to mean we need to be enticing children out of the genuine feelings of sadness and loneliness or serious moods when they occur. Children should be engaged, focused, relaxed, and interested, as opposed to bored, listless, or bouncing off the walls. Like I just mentioned in the last slide, I did jump ahead. I do tend to jump ahead because these concepts are all in my head. When you see the child have these emotions, then let them release it, because that you got them to the point where you need to release these emotions. And Giggles is a great way. Follow the laughter. Use different methods. Use games. Become a bumbling clown if you need to. All the children like that. That builds confidence. It builds power, and they laugh. And also, when it gets to a serious point, don't do empty threats, because you will never win. Throw in, if you're going to do something, do silly threats, like my example. If you do that one more time, I'm going to eat this nappy, or I will spill this water over my head, or if you do this, I'm going to basically fall on the floor and start crying, or something like that. And the children will laugh, and they'll probably do it one more time just to test it, and then the game's on. So enjoy the giggles. Enjoy the laughter. Put these things into practice. Don't just listen to this and forget about it. These are valuable tools. Imagine Batman going out into the night and he forgets his tool belt. He will fail and lose and get beaten up by the Joker. We now have the Batman belt. So click it on and get down to the floor and start playing with the children. I'll see you in the next module.